Welcome to Organizational Sherlocks, the podcast where business meets psychology and your organizational puzzles meet their match.
Join us for captivating stories and practical solutions to unravel your toughest challenges.
I'm Dr. Elizabeth Fleming.
And I'm Morgan Ashworth, your guides to a prescription for business success.
Let's dive in.
Happy holidays, Elizabeth.
Happy holidays. I love what's going on behind you right now for those who can see and are watching the video of this podcast.
We've got a couple fun backgrounds up. I'm not in my actual living room. My actual living room is decorated. If you look at my holiday reel that I posted through Organizational Sherlocks, you'll see my tree and you'll see the snow in our backyard right now. So yes, we do have a white Christmas here.
Yeah, you do. So we were just talking about this for our listeners before Morgan and I jumped on to the recording, but I live in Minnesota, which is kind of known for being very snowy and cold in the winter and like the winter wonderland, if you will. And we have no snow. So at least in the part of Minnesota that I live in. So this is
one more day. We've got one more day for that chance for a white Christmas, right? We do have snow here. We've had a couple storms already. Some have been like, rain, snow mixes, but most of it's been snow and real windy, but I'm loving it. I got my ugly sweater on. It's got some gnomes on it that are driving a vehicle that says Xmas.
Hey, there you go.
For those of you that can see me, but definitely in the holiday spirit over here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Can I share just like a funny story about near where I live? Is that all right? Okay. So there's a big winter festival here in St. Paul, which is the capital of Minnesota, for those who don't know that. And it's like, I think it's 138th maybe year of the festival. So it's the longest running winter festival and the largest in North America, which is kind of cool. Anyway, long story short, it all started because someone from the East Coast, from New York, a reporter came and said that people in Minnesota don't leave their homes because it's so cold in the winter. And like calling Minnesota like the other Siberia or something like that. Like, it was just really weird. It was a really weird article back in the late 1800s, and they started this huge festival. So I just think it's kind of funny because it has definitely flipped. We're not as cold as we were in the late 1800s. I don't think.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, you can see in like the Earth's warming chart and cooling chart. That's why we have like the ice age versus what we're in now. But not to get into that, today a lot of you might have the day off. Some of you might be working because it is the 24th. It's not yet Christmas itself. But kind of wanted to chat with you guys about what it looks like for holidays and planning those holidays through your organization. We've talked about planning holiday parties, but what about the holidays where you actually pay your team for not working? And it's not PTO, it's a holiday pay.
Yeah. I think that's a good question and something that should be pre-planned, in my opinion, right? That's something typically that you say, right, kind of day of, like, oh, by the way, don't come to work. Usually it's something you lay out in your maybe your handbook or your manual or whatever it is, however you call it. And really just kind of taking a look at, where those dates fall, and especially if they fall on a weekend. I think that's a huge thing. If it falls on a weekend, do you give someone Friday and Monday as a substitute for that? Or, kind of what does that look like?
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's the federal holidays that people have to follow in the U.S. I'm not sure exactly what the laws are like outside of the U.S., but the holidays kind of fall very similarly. But I even kind of alluded to it, it's the 24th. You don't it's not federally required to pay for the 24th in Massachusetts, where my office is based, though I'm in New Hampshire. It's also not, it's not required to pay for the 24th if it's falling around Christmas. Christmas Day is the only day they get off. And, Christmas, it's tomorrow. It's a Wednesday. It's really an odd time period. And then New Year's is going to be a Wednesday too because of that. I get my birthday off because mine's on Saturday. So I get the luck of the draw this year for my birthday. But, it's a little bit of an odd timeline. I know, a lot of manuals will say like, these are the exact holidays you always get off. But then these are the additional days they might post at the beginning of the year every year. Like we share our holiday list the first few weeks of the year, we'll share it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I've seen some companies too, like I know my husband's company, they have like a flex holiday, right? And so there's certain holidays throughout the year they can choose to take off. They can save that day if they want to work, whatever it may be. But the expectation isn't that it's an all or nothing kind of situation, which I also think is kind of nice, gives you some choice as well.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like those flex holidays, more companies use them for the non-federal holidays. So,
Absolutely.
for example, you might have a flex holiday to use it, maybe Columbus Day weekend or Indigenous Peoples Day weekend. Now you have that. So you might use it that day. You might use it for Juneteenth. You might use it for Veterans Day. They tend to use it for those extra holidays that aren't federally required.
Right.
So, Elizabeth, I want you to kind of take our listeners through some holidays that are federal holidays, and maybe we can go through the calendar piece by piece.
Yeah. Well, goodness, trying to get all of them in order from January to December may be a little bit of a challenge for me, just so you know, because I'm awful with dates, as Morgan knows. But I do my best. I live and like breathe by my calendar. That's just kind of what it is. But, I think that, the big ones that really come to mind, specifically speaking about the US, because as you mentioned, Morgan, I know outside of the US, some of these holidays are not federally recognized, nor are they holidays that really, other countries or other areas of the world celebrate. So that's something to keep in mind. But, some big ones that we've had here recently, Thanksgiving is a big one that always falls on a Thursday. And so it is a little bit weird to then wake up on Friday and go back to work. But some companies will say, hey, just take the day or whatever it might be. Christmas, I think is another big one. New Year's Day, another one. Again, kind of similar to Christmas, right? Where New Year's Eve is not the federally recognized holiday, but nor is New Year's Eve, right? But the days themselves are. So those I think are the big ones that kind of come to mind initially.
Yeah, those are definitely the top three, the most recent. We're in holiday season, so we can't help but to think of those. Separate from that, after New Year's, you kind of have this major gap in holidays because there's no required holidays up until Memorial Day. Memorial Day is actually the next federal holiday from the top of my head. Then you have July 4th in the US, so Independence Day. After that, you have Labor Day. And then you don't start again until the holiday season, which is Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. So there's really only, I believe it's 6 federal holidays that are required for organizations to give their team off. Most companies, though, you tend to see 8 to 10 holidays being given. I know at my organization that I'm internally at as Chief People Officer, we give off the Friday after Thanksgiving is almost always a paid holiday as well. So, they get their Black Friday off. It's not necessarily like a quiet day, but so many people are traveling for Thanksgiving. So many people take it off anyhow. So it just makes sense. I do know this past year in 2024, July 4th fell on a Thursday as well.
It did.
So, could you imagine having your holiday celebration on July 4th? Usually it's a late night for most people, and then having to go to work on July 5th. Well, we took that into account, and we gave an extra holiday on July 5th as well. No requirement for them to take PTO, though other organizations, a lot of small organizations especially, can require you to take PTO on another closure day as long as it's written into their handbook. They can't do it if it's not written. Or you could refuse to use your PTO, but you might still just not have work that day. So that's another thing. And then today, actually, we have a half day. So we're doing a half day today because of the travel and, everything associated with Christmas Eve. I know I have a big holiday celebration with half the family tonight, and then tomorrow is with the other half of the family. And so we take that into account, and we ended up giving our individuals 4 hours of holiday pay today, though we have plenty of people taking the day off in general.
Right. It's kind of interesting because there are differences, I think, even within like specific types of companies or sizes of companies or industries and all of that. And I say that because, I work in consulting, right? So, I mean, do I need to take Christmas Eve off? No, not necessarily. I mean, I'm not required to, whatever, but at the same time, none of my clients are available that day. So it just kind of naturally happens, if that makes sense. Also,
Yeah.
I'm a very small company, small consulting company. So it's not like I have, 50 people that I'm putting
Yeah, you're
out.
not gonna have anything probably majorly emergent that you need help
Yeah.
with on that day either.
Yeah.
And definitely, a lot of our industry specifically, in the manufacturing space, most often in like the smaller manufacturing space, so you think like under 100 employees in the manufacturer, they tend to have like a quieter period around July 4th week and around Christmas week. And so we actually have partner vendors who shut down for those 2 weeks. They're not holiday pay. Those are the 2 weeks that everyone gets off and it's PTO.
Yep.
Again, it's written into their manual. But I would love to look forward into 2025, knowing it's just about a week away now, and kind of chat about what do the holidays look like? Where are they falling? And how might you plan your holidays to be able to tell your employees, okay, these are the days you can plan for in 2025 to be off and that don't plan to be at work because we are going to be closed.
No, I think that makes perfect sense. You know what's funny? As I was kind of looking up the dates and how they fall in 2025, and there's some that it's always like, the second or the third Thursday or whatever. Like that just always stays the same regardless, right? Like Thanksgiving is one, Martin Luther King is always a Monday, like that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I was looking through them and there are a lot of Mondays and Thursdays in 2025, which is kind of fun actually when I think about it. Some 3 to 4 day weekends that we can maybe give our people.
I will say honestly, a number of like holidays are on Mondays. We see most holidays being on Mondays, all of those like extra national days, but those are not always required to be off. The only two I know that are required are Memorial Day and Labor Day. Those are the only 2 days in the US that are required federally, but that's why you have those flex holidays. I mean, the kids all have off a number of the holidays.
Oh boy, that brings up a whole other complicated factor.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you can think like working parents and they have to take care of their kids or they have to do something. They might be taking these days off anyway, and that's why people have those flex holidays. Yeah. But let's take a look through. I'm gonna go month by month and kind of on my holiday schedule if we're good with that.
Yeah, I have mine up too. So we can definitely go there. Maybe just starting the beginning. First day of January, New Year's Day. It's a Wednesday.
Yeah, so we got New Year's Day. I'm actually going to unclick some of my calendars here. So I just have my holiday calendar up. Got a lot. I have so many calendars, so kind of blocks it all off for me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We first have New Year's Day, which is a Wednesday. I can say, obviously, we have that day off. We have a number of people taking off the 30th and 31st, but we're not doing extra holidays for that because we already gave them 2.5 quote extra holidays from the federal holidays. Second to that, though, you then have a non-required holiday, and that would be Martin Luther King Day. It's the 20th. It's a Monday, and so that might become a flex holiday for some.
Yeah. Well, and I think really quickly before we continue with the calendar, I think it's important to point out though too that like what we're talking about now are kind of the like organizations that many of you may work in. If you are a federal employee, this is going to sound a little bit different because these are required as a federal employee to have off, which is different than what we're talking about when we say federally like recognized holidays that are kind of, I guess trickle down to companies that are not government related.
I think that was a good point, Elizabeth. I wasn't even thinking about that. Federal employees do in fact have more holidays that they're required to have off. Right. That is for the federal government, though. It does change for state governments. And then second to that, these aren't actually required for every single employer. Also, the size of your company might change which holidays, but those 6 federal quote holidays, federally recognized holidays that the government requires all organizations, private, public, everything to take off, it applies to everybody.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we'll continue on.
All right.
There.
So Martin Luther King Jr. Day on the 20th, we've mentioned. What comes next?
After that, I mean, not really recognized, but Valentine's Day is a day that some people do take time off for. That usually people don't use as a flex holiday. It's not usually doesn't usually fall in there. But we do have President's Day on the 17th. And so the kids that are in school that week that aren't on February vacation, they actually get that day off. And so that might become a day that you choose to give holiday pay, or that your team might take a flex day if you offer flex days for.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and then we kind of take a break for a little bit from the holiday schedule, right? Not much in March, not much in April, not much through May, except that Memorial Day.
We have Easter Monday.
Oh, that's
the
true.
Kids get it off again. So kids get it off, but and a lot of colleges also get it off, but in organizations it's not required to be given off, but again might be a flex day that people end up using. And now I feel we are going based off of the typical holiday calendar schedule, so we're not taking into account all these other more religious holidays that might also be used with flex holidays. So you got to think, the US has more Christian based holidays in its calendar, because that was at one point the largest religion. Now I feel it's very, very different across the board. But you do have to take into account other religious holidays as time goes on.
Yeah. And with that too, I'll say, like, I know a lot of the companies that I work with are, really kind of open about, hey, this is, your religion, or, your belief system, your value system, like, how can we support you? And, if it's Kwanzaa or Hanukkah or something, that is a little bit different than what is recognized by the federal kind of calendar, if you will. A lot of companies are more than willing to work with you. So don't be afraid. If you, don't celebrate all the holidays we're speaking about, don't be afraid to go and talk to your manager or your supervisor and say, hey, I'd like to take this day off, and see what you might be able to do.
Yeah, there are religious accommodations. First off, that morally organizations should do, but second off, it's federally required as well to have religious accommodation. So if you have a religious holiday that you celebrate, definitely speak with your employer, get that time pre-scheduled off. Obviously you don't want to go to them the day before, never a good idea, but pre-scheduling your time off is always important. I know I had a classmate back in the day who took different days off. He's Jewish, and he would take different days off, and so he'd be out of school those days, but he is allowed to have those days off. He needs to celebrate his religion.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's for sure.
But I was going to say, Elizabeth, you are right. The next, we truly kind of have a gap after the beginning of the year. And then we have Memorial Day, Memorial Day being a federally recognized and required holiday.
That's one of my favorites too. That's a big family one for my family. So
yeah, that's awesome.
We all get together on Memorial Day weekend. It's usually Friday through Monday. So
yeah, us ourselves, we have a Memorial Day holiday luncheon, meaning it's not actually on Memorial Day, it's the week before. It's our summer kickoff at our company to just do a little celebration there. We do a cornhole competition, and then we have the ice cream truck and a food truck come, and we all just enjoy it. It always somehow is the hottest day of the year so far on that day. But after that, we do see actually one that is not yet federally recognized, but there is
It is, yes. Just so you know.
Okay, is it starting in 2025? I did have to look into that.
It's one of the 11 federally recognized holidays.
Oh, sorry.
Recognized nationwide.
I meant to say federally recognized in the sense of required.
I think we need to come up with a different word, because it's very confusing. But it is a nationwide recognition of Juneteenth.
Federally recognized holiday, not required holiday pay, though.
Yes.
That would be Juneteenth. I like that we're talking about the same one without even knowing what we're talking about. So Juneteenth, it falls on a Thursday this year. Surrounding Juneteenth, there are a number of states that do require their companies to pay that holiday as off, but there are also a number of states that don't require it. So it is a state-based decision, but that might become a flex holiday for those that offer flex holidays and don't have it as a required day off within their state.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
We jump into July, and
July.
July, it's on a Friday this year, so that's exciting. What do we
I'm
have
excited about that. Yeah, Independence Day or 4th of July, depending on how you talk about it. I think technically it's referred to as Independence Day in the United States here. So of course it's a very United States specific holiday that we're referring to. Not typically celebrated outside of here. In
Yeah,
the
it'd be a
United
little
States.
odd if, especially if the UK
Yeah.
celebrated.
I think other countries have their own like kind of Independence days. It just doesn't fall on July 4th. So.
Yeah. So the US is July 4th is our Independence Day. It is on a Friday this year. Like I had spoken of prior, was that this past year in July of 2024, my company, because it landed on a Thursday, gave the Friday off on top of that. So we chose to give an extra day and close the office. So, but obviously not every organization does that.
That's the same thing. Yeah. Okay. I have to tell you, because I have a story really quick about Labor Day, because that's the next one. So we take August off and then we go into September, beginning of September. It's always on Monday.
September 1st this year. That is
the first. I know. It's my
a while
sister's
since it's on the 1st.
Yeah, it's my sister's birthday, but my birthday is only 3 days later, so that's kind of fun. But also, the year that I was born, Labor Day was on my birthday, so I was born on Labor Day. So it's always kind of a fun little thing at my house. My kids know Labor Day is coming, and they equate that to being about mom and their aunt's birthday, which is kind of
that's awesome. It's cute. Yeah, so we have September 1st being a Labor Day. So it's the first Monday of September every year, and it's a day off. Obviously not every organization is off. You also have to think, during these holiday seasons, and there are a number of companies that aren't off. So you got to think of restaurants, type of like service industry that people usually go to these things when they're off. But on Labor Day, a number of restaurants, a number of organizations that typically work on the federally recognized holidays, they do actually take that day off. Not all, a lot of them do.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that's kind of Labor Day is a cool one for kind of what we do in our work, and just like our podcast and everything too, because it really is about celebrating the people who work in our country, right? And the like economic and social prosperity of the people who work. And so it's really a celebration of all of you, which I think is pretty neat too.
Yeah. So post Labor Day, we come to Columbus Day, or Indigenous Peoples Day. There's 2 names for it now, and that falls on the 13th Monday of October. It's always on a Monday. I believe it's always the 2nd Monday of October as well. And so that is not required to be paid as a holiday federally, but it is a federally recognized holiday. So now I'm making that differentiation for you guys. But it might become a flex holiday for those that offer them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then Veterans Day in November is the next one that I think shows up for me on my calendar, right? So Tuesday, November 11th is Veterans Day. And typically is a day that people have off, right? No, banks and federal governments typically do.
It is required though for a employer to pay a veteran or active duty for that day though. It is required. So for example, my roommate, he is a veteran at this point in time. He's now retired from the military, but his employer is required to give him that day off. I don't think he's actually required to pay him. Most employers, though, out of the goodness of their hearts, do choose to pay their veterans for those holidays.
And a lot of companies do a lot of really cool things for our veterans too, whether it's a free meal or a free cup of coffee at Starbucks or whatever it might be. So I think it's something for our veterans and those listening or those who know them. It's a great day to go out. I know I go out and eat lunch with my dad every Veterans Day because he is a veteran as well.
Yeah, I know a lot of people actually have veterans discounts year round, but then Veterans is kind of this special day to say thank you for serving our country.
Exactly. Yeah.
Separate to that, now we got Thanksgiving. So we're back around, back in the holiday season in 2025. Falls on Thursday the 27th, with Black Friday being Friday the 28th. And
Mhm.
so usually, so Thursday is required to be paid federally. It's a federally recognized holiday as well. So it's a double whammy there. But like I said, my organization usually gives the Friday off as a holiday as well.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
think that's good, especially with like so many people go out shopping. All the stores open up on
Mhm.
Friday and all of that. So most of the places I've worked have also given Friday.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
And then we have Christmas Day. That
Mhm.
is now going to be on a Thursday. And I can tell you, I would assume that my company is planning to have 26th off as a holiday.
Absolutely.
And we tend to always give a couple extra holidays, like I said prior. So I would assume that we're going to give the 26th off as a holiday as well. And then I see us usually we have our holiday luncheon as well the week before Christmas or the Wednesday before Christmas. So this year it's on the 18th. And
Mhm.
so maybe next year it'll be on the 24th. And then after the luncheon, we'll all go home and have the rest of the day off.
There you go. That's awesome.
We
I
did that
love
a
that.
couple of years ago. I
Yeah.
think it might have been the 23rd though, technically. And then we were that's why we were shut down for the holiday season
Mm.
that year. And so as a part of people's bonuses, they were given the whole week after Christmas and the 24th off as a
Oh,
holiday.
that is great. You
Mhm.
know, I look back kind of over the years and now my schedule is pretty flexible. Obviously, I'm consulting and a lot of people don't like my clients are not working, so I don't have as much to do. But over the years, like it is funny to look at the days that I've had off or the years it's been challenging. Like I know that my family all celebrates on Christmas Eve. And then Christmas Day is really for kind of our more nuclear families. So we stay here and whoever wants to join us is welcome. But Christmas Eve is typically a day that we spend with family, right?
Yep,
And so I think
I
it's funny because now I look like where I'm at now in my life. It's very different. And so it may change depending on where you are. I guess that's the message I'm sending. And you know,
Yeah, I will say, when it comes to the Christmas season, the holiday season, in late December, since there's so many holidays that land around there, we have Hanukkah, we have Kwanzaa, and so people are taking different sets of time off for those religious accommodations,
right.
which is, of course, great to see organizations helping people allow them to celebrate.
Yeah.
But I will say, for us, we have a PTO policy surrounding, time off and how many people can be off per department, things along those lines. And so our rule is like one person per department at a time because we're a small organization. And but around the holiday season, it's like half the department can be off because so many people are off and so many people are celebrating or traveling or
Right.
it's just a time where it's a time of rest for almost the entire world. I feel like at this point in time, even if it's a country that doesn't typically celebrate based off of that country's religion, we do tend to see it still being a time of rest because New Year's is then as well. So we definitely see it as a time of reset.
Yeah, yeah. I do want to give a shout out though to any of our like first responders, doctors, nurses, people who work in the hospitals, because oftentimes these are not days that you get off of work. And so I do want to give them a shout out because I know that it can be hard to be away from family when that's really maybe where you would want to be over a holiday. So those are just a big shout out and a big heart, I guess, to all of them, doing like the Valentine's Day heart during Christmas.
You know that the heart's done differently now. It's like this from like Gen Alpha does like the thumb and finger, and this is their heart.
I'm not even going to try to do that because I'll look really silly and all of our listeners will laugh at me. I'll try later when I'm not on camera.
But anyhow, not to take the seriousness away from what Elizabeth said, but thank you to all of our first responders who do in fact stay working on these holidays. I do know there are a number of organizations that do stay open as well. Not usually Christmas or Thanksgiving, but they might still have like a half day or something along those lines. But there is certain federal requirements surrounding that as well. Certain companies do have to pay like time and a half. So as though it's overtime on when people work these holidays. So to kind of take that into account, there's a flexibility surrounding holidays, but federally, there are 6 holidays that you're technically supposed to have off or earn time and a half. And one last thing I would like to say is this only applies to actually full-time employees. Part-time employees do not get holiday pay or seasonal sometimes temp as well.
Unless the company chooses to.
Unless the company chooses to, correct. But I just want to do a quick recap on holidays, just to kind of name them out real quick for you all. And that is, January 2025, we have New Year's Day on Wednesday the 1st. Then we have, and I'm just going to go through those 6 federal ones. Then we have Memorial Day on Monday the 26th, followed by Independence Day on Friday the 4th. And then we have Labor Day, September 1st, Monday, followed by Thanksgiving on the 27th of November, and Christmas on the 25th, of course, of December, a Thursday. And so, I wonder how your holidays are going to plan out. We'd love to have you guys share them with us of what your thoughts are for your organizations. I can already say, obviously, with the 25th being on a Thursday, we're likely going to be giving the 26th off as a holiday. But it's great to plan that in advance. We'll say these are your definite days off. And in the new year, typically the second week of the year, we'll send it out so everyone has it. But then any changes, any extra holidays, those will come a couple months in advance for planning purposes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if our listeners, if you guys have any fun pictures or things you want to share about from your holiday gatherings, please do. I say that because the school that I teach at part-time, they just did that at a holiday party, and it was kind of fun to see all of these people's favorite memories over the years. So if that's something you're willing to share with us, we would really love to see it.
Yeah. But with that, we do want to say happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year's to all those celebrating this holiday season. It is Christmas Eve, like you all know, and I'm really excited for some celebrations later today.
So am I. Well, happy holidays, everyone. And this concludes another intriguing episode of Organizational Sherlocks. I'm Elizabeth Fleming.
And I'm Morgan Ashworth, reminding you that the journey to success is an ongoing investigation.
Stay curious, stay strategic, and keep utilizing insights to decode your business mysteries.
Join us every Tuesday for your next Whodunit. This is Organizational Sherlocks, closing today's case.
We'll see you all next time.